This Xbox One generation has been pretty bleak for Microsoft. It sold around 45 million units. Compare that to the PS4, which sold around 110 million units. Now, 7 years ago, Xbox 360 and PS3 finished in a dead heat. Both sold around 85 million units. What helped Sony gain this massive win this time around was that they learned from their mistakes. And now, Microsoft must do the same. In this video, we're going to look at the 3 things Microsoft failed to do last generation and what they should do to fix them this time around. Number 1. Franchises. During the Xbox and Xbox 360 era, Microsoft invested heavily in core gamer titles and quickly gained the following. Games like Halo, Gears of War, MechAssault, Crimson Skies, Midtown Madness, Rally Sport Challenge, Project Gotham Racing made Xbox an interesting place to play. Fast forward to the current generation, only Halo, Gears of War and Forza remain. It's disappointing to think that both Sony and Nintendo have invested heavily in their franchises, growing their fan base, while Microsoft strategically heads in the opposite direction. This generation, Microsoft simply must invest more in both past franchises and create new IPs. Ideally, it would be important to see at least 1 or 2 new IPs for fans to get invested in. For Microsoft, their core base has mostly consisted of a core gamer male demographic, and it's simply time to look to other audiences, especially when Nintendo does a great job of inclusion with their titles. Many of Microsoft's games carry that gamer aesthetic, and that doesn't create a wider audience. They did try in the past with games on Kinect to some degree, but there simply needs to be games with deeper game mechanics. In terms of past franchises, it's time for a new MechAssault, Crimson Skies, Midtown Madness, and all the other games I mentioned previously. If there's one thing Nintendo does well, it's planning out the releases of all their games throughout the life of the console, and Microsoft has to do the same. We'd all like these games to come out early and often, but Nintendo has proven that regularly scheduled releases and building momentum are simply the best way to do it. Number 2. Core users. When the Xbox One launched, Microsoft continued to focus on the general audience with their Kinect peripheral. This was a move that ultimately destroyed what took Microsoft over 10 years to build. Unfortunately, motion gaming turned out to be a big fad that even Nintendo retreated from, and Microsoft was left burnt, having invested heavily. Nintendo still had its core base though, but Microsoft simply took too long to react and never recovered. The console generation was lost before it's even started. What Microsoft must do is to regain the trust of its core fans again, the same ones that purchased an Xbox and an Xbox 360, and begin another period of consumer friendliness. In recent times, it does look like they're attempting that with far better services such as Xbox Game Pass and launching their first party titles on day one on that service. Xbox Play Anywhere is another impressive service that aims to at the very least involve PC gamers in its Microsoft messaging, if not buy an Xbox console. Like Nintendo, what will drive new users for Microsoft will be leveraging its core fans to do its messaging, and Microsoft needs to follow in Nintendo's footsteps. Number 3. Marketing. Microsoft over the past generation has made horrendous marketing decisions. It started with announcing an online DRM Xbox One console before backtracking on that decision, then finally announcing that it would be bundled with a Kinect device nobody wanted and a $499 premium price tag. That set the tone for the rest of the generation as it false started and never gained any momentum. His lack of success prompted the head honchos to invest less in the system. But while Phil Spencer has generally been saying all the right things and steered it down the right long-term path by investing in studios like inXile and Obsidian, Microsoft still appears to miss the mark when it comes to outmaneuvering Sony in terms of marketing strategy. For example, the Inside Xbox showcase, which should have shifted momentum towards the new Xbox Series X, ended up being a bait and switch show with announcement trailers and in-engine graphics that didn't actually show gameplay as promised. People were also upset that it was mostly cross-generation titles that were shown. Microsoft ended up having to defend the content and remarking that they'd take all feedback into consideration. It was clear that they had stuffed up. In a vacuum, this may not have hurt Microsoft too much, but it was only a few days later Epic Games rolled out a 2-minute tech demo with the cleverly worded disclaimer that the footage was from a PS5 and that video had the internet reeling. Just take a look at how many people watched both videos. The Unreal Engine demo outnumbered any of the videos Microsoft had by at least 10 to 1 in terms of views. And just like that, despite the fact that Xbox clearly decided to make sure they had the stronger hardware this generation around, the PS5 stole the momentum. People started talking, could PS5 with its inferior hardware really outdo Microsoft? Sony became the underdog again, and once more, Microsoft believing their own hype fell on their face. Sony had waited for Microsoft to reveal its hand and trumped them as it pleased. So I hope, for Microsoft's sake at the very least, when it comes to naming the price of the Series X, Microsoft holds off as long as it can and waits for Sony to reveal their price first. And if they're serious about contending this generation, Microsoft simply must be brave and match Sony on price. They can't lose this generation as they did the last. In conclusion, Microsoft lost the Xbox One generation through a lack of exclusives, neglecting core gamers, and bungling the marketing message time and again. The most successful hardware usually isn't the most powerful hardware of the time. Just look at the PS2, or the Wii, the Game Boy, or the DS. It's about something more. The fans need a console to get excited for. They need something to look forward to. And ultimately, they need a console that they want to invest in. Microsoft must simply give reasons why somebody should buy an Xbox Series X. Just saying it's the most powerful hardware isn't enough. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. And I'll see you in the next one.